Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Web podcast. Today, I have another very special, and I mean it. This is not me being polite. I mean it. We will hear in a moment once I tell you a brief overview of who this wonderful lady is. We connected. This is my wonderful new friend, Debra Blackman from the UK. And we connected to one of our common friend, wonderful man, a legend of his own, Mr. John Donnelly. John, brother, shout out to you. We connected to him. He connected us on LinkedIn, and we had a beautiful conversation just, 2-3 days ago. And within the first 10-20 minutes, I told Debra, say no more. You have my calendar, book a time, and let's bring you on the podcast. And the rest is history. Now she's here to share her story. And let me see. So we connected to John, incredible gentleman by in his own merit, and a little bit about her. And of course, we're gonna dive deep into each of those. She's got an amazing story. First of all, she grew up in a family with a lot of trauma. She overcame all of that, and she had her own awakening as a result of taking counseling, and that led her to her journey of spirituality and doing good and giving back. And boy, giving back and doing good has been the common denominator of her journey so far in life, because she's all about building purposeful businesses. And yeah, she has a VA company with a team in Pakistan where everybody is equal. There's no hierarchy. And she has 3 charities at the same time. One is an hospice for people at the end of their life. One is for blind people so they can drive the vehicle under supervision. And the third one is an inclusive theater company. It's going to allow people to perform and showcase their talent without being celebrities or anything. And on top of that, she has a much bigger vision. She says she wants to leave everything she built, all her legacy, for others, so for people who have not much. So this is beautiful. This is really resonated with me. And as soon as I heard that the other day, I said, listen, say no more. You have my calendar, book a time. I want to showcase you and help you, because it's exactly the kind of people that I want to showcase on my podcast. And I'm really delighted to have you here. So, Debra, my wonderful friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, Payman, thank you so much for having me. It's a real treat, a real privilege.
Pleasure's all mine. So first of all, tell us, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. I'm absolutely fantastic. And I still need to pinch myself that we're in February already.
Yes.
January has gone by in a blur. It's all good though. And yeah, I've heard some stunning success about you with your new book and your #1 bestseller. So that's elevated my mood no end. That's fantastic. So yeah, it's all going good. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very welcome. Now, for people who don't know you, we're going to talk about your business, your philanthropy, and all that in a moment. But for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Debra as a person, as a human being, as a woman?
Okay, so I'm here on this earth to give, to contribute, to help people to thrive, and to let my energy flow out in love and goodwill to all those around me. And if you'd have asked me a few years ago what I was, I wouldn't have been able to tell you, because I didn't know who I was. I was busy trying to run away from my fears and anxiety. I didn't fit in. I looked at the world as an outsider looking inwards. I felt unloved, uncared for, unwanted, unheard, unseen. And what I'd say to anybody out there is, your life can change in a heartbeat. I mean, literally, it took me over 50 years to find out who I was. And the great thing is now that I know, the energy's increased, the positivity's increased, the way I look at the world has become incredible, looking at life's challenges as learning opportunities. And hey, every day there is something where you think, do I really need to learn this lesson? So yeah, it's not all a bed of roses. It's not all running through the fields and thinking life is wonderful, but it gives me a sense of grounding and a sense of purpose. And that's the thing for me. The purpose is the driver. Absolutely. Now I have that. yeah, now I've got that. I've got an anchor, or I've got a direction, whichever way you want to think about it, because it's kind of the same sort of thing. The anchor grounds me, it centers me, it gives me stability. But then in the same tone, I can set my course and have a direction with which I know I'm headed. And the journeys and the lessons in life can push me around a little, but I know where I'm headed. So the Debra that you see here today and that everyone's listening to, and thank you very much, is that person that if I can just give a little bit of what I've learned over the last 18 months, that could be useful, that could be maybe inspiring or motivating to somebody, that would be absolutely amazing.
I love that. We're going to unpack all of that. So you mentioned the last 18 months. Why the last 18 months only? Is it because that's when you had your awakening, or what happened 18 months ago, since 18 months ago?
Yeah. So just to go back, I was a child born to parents who had mental illness. But of course, as a child, you think your family life is normal. And to be fair, I lived in fear. Every type of abuse that could be done was done to me, but it was normal because I had no point of reference.
Mm.
And I got, as a small child, as you do, I got coping mechanisms of how to deal with it. And it wasn't until I got older and started to see other people. My family didn't want me to mix with other children or stay with them or anything. I'm sure you can understand for the reasons. But ultimately, when I did start to engage with other families and realize that mine was very, very, very different, I started to question what was wrong with me. Because most children always go back and think, well, we don't have a point of rationalization, so we think, what's wrong with me? So winding that forward, it unfortunately pervaded the whole of my life. Although I knew that there was a way to behave not to attract the abuse, I put that into place in all my career. And I had a great career. I used to be in finance and international private banking and international operational management consultancy, very high powered role. I was totally exhausted all the time because I had to think of different versions of me to put into place. I didn't know how to act without thinking, how should I be in this situation, which is very, very tiring. And it affected my relationships. And it's not just relationships romantically, it's relationships in work, it's remote relationships with friends and other people and work colleagues. And I used to paper over the cracks. Thank goodness I'm not an addictive personality, so I didn't self-medicate, which a lot of people turn to, but I internalized it and I was incredibly depressed. I was always one step away of trying to do away with myself. But on the outside, I was a bubbly, friendly, warm human being. So nobody would have known what was going on internally, this war, this battle,
Mm.
this awful sense of doom every single day. The cracks got bigger and I kept on papering over them. I did some work on myself with spiritually healing because I knew I needed to do something because it was exhausting the way I was living. So I was looking at things on podcasts, I was reading things, I was trying to assimilate in my mind how I should behave, etc. But it wasn't getting to the core. So to cut a long story short, about 18 months ago, I went out for a business meeting, and the gentleman who said, come out, he picked 7 p.m. And I said, well, that's out of hours. Can we do something during the day? And he said, unfortunately, I'm so busy. And he said, well, could you meet me at this wine bar? And which was perfectly okay because people meet for business after work there and you sit. And he pretty much forced me to have a drink. And at that point, I was a people pleaser. So anything to please people, I would do to the detriment of my own boundaries. Well, I didn't really have any boundaries, to be fair. So I had this drink, and then he wanted me to have another one. And something said, I'm not safe. I'm not safe with this person.
Did he
But I'm,
did he put a drug in your anything in your drink or anything?
no, he didn't. He was
And
outwardly,
was it someone that you knew from before? So I didn't catch this.
yeah. So this was somebody that I'd met in the networking circuit.
Oh, okay.
In business, you meet people, and he had a good reputation. So I didn't think there was anything untoward. Anyway, he insisted on driving me home.
Oh,
And I managed to get out of the car, and won't go into exactly what happened, but I got through my front door, slammed it shut, raced upstairs, flung myself on the bed and cried and cried and cried and cried. And I woke up crying, and I knew I was very broken. I was desperate, and I thought, I've got to get help. I've got to get help now, to help from a professional perspective. I can't deal with this now. And I went onto the computer. I typed counselors near me. The people, the list that came up was in an alphabetical order. I picked the name that began with A because it was at the top of the list, lady called Amy. I rang her, I was shaking, in tears, didn't know what to do with myself. And within an hour, I had my first counseling session. She actually, and bless her, she actually stopped the counseling session she was going to have, which is very, very rare, because obviously she makes a commitment to her clients. And I
sure.
had it over the phone. She was worried about me. She said, could she call my doctor? And I let her do that so that they knew if that I needed help, I had a straight run through to the doctor. And we went through, and after, I think it was about 6 sessions, I could start to feel a shift. It was about 6 weeks of weekly 1 hour sessions over the phone. I chose not to have visual. I didn't realize she didn't meet people, but her counseling, I think, actually saved my life, which I will be eternally grateful for. And that was around 18 months ago.
Okay.
And yeah, and interestingly enough, it was around about the 8th week of the counseling, because I had 12 weeks in all, 3 months. I told you before when I spoke with you, I had an experience. I was asleep, and I'd gone to bed with stomach cramps. And I thought I was getting appendicitis. I don't know what appendicitis feels like, but they were really strong stomach pains, really strong. And so I took myself to bed with a hot water bottle. We have hot water bottles in the UK. I don't know if you know
Oh,
them everywhere
really?
else.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So you fill up a rubber bottle which has got a cover on it with boiling water, and
Uh-huh.
it's nice. So it's a bit like a heat pad, old
Okay.
fashioned. Yeah. And I went to bed in the fetal position, lay in the fetal position with this hot water bottle, this heat pad on my tummy to try and relax it. Now, I'm not prone to that kind of issue. So I literally thought if I had the doctor on speed dial, or I was either going to call 999 for the ambulance if it got worse. And then the most miraculous thing happened. And people are going to think I'm nuts and crazy, but I really don't care because this happened to me. I gave birth to a monster. This horrible, black, enormous shape came out of my stomach. And at that point, it had red eyes. I'll always remember it. It looked down on my face. I was about an inch away from my face. And I won't say the words that I used when I was actually shouting at the top of my voice, but it was in no uncertain terms, go away. Okay. And I shouted at this monster to go away and leave me alone, leave me. And I was sweating, I was in pain, I was shouting, I was absolutely 100% in that moment. And it left my body, it went through the bedroom door and turned back, and I would not let it through the threshold. Yeah.
Was it an entity or a spirit or demon or?
Well, I think it was a demon. I think that this
Wow.
had grown inside me for all of my life, all my coping mechanisms, all the
Ah,
evil and the hurt. I think this had grown, and I had nurtured it inside to become enormous. And when it was standing at the bedroom door and that threshold, and I shouted again to go away, it turned, and I could see it going down the corridor in the hallway. and then it disappeared. And in that moment, I knew I was me, I was healed, I was
Wow.
calm, I was centered, and everything felt and looked and smelt completely different.
Wow.
I know it was an absolute wow moment. And the next day, I put in a call to my counselor, and she took it out of hours because, again, she tries to keep people on the path of the 1 hour throughout the week. And I told her what had happened. And she said, Deborah, it's not unusual for people to have in the counseling sessions things like, dreams of washing their hands, like waving goodbye, um, getting into a vehicle and driving off and seeing things disappear. She said, because you're leaving something, something is leaving you. You're going through a transformation. But she said, because of what I told her and the suffering that I'd endured, the fact that this was my goodbye to everything before,
Mm.
she said that reflected on the severity of what I saw and what I experienced. And she said, right, now we keep with the counseling session, because she said to me, how do I feel? And I said, I feel numb, but
Mm.
I'm fine. And so what happened a series of weeks after that was that I was being filled with the most amazing feeling of love, warmth, all those things that I hadn't had, all poured into me, which was just an amazing, amazing feeling.
Wow.
And when I started the counselor had asked me, what do you want to get out of these sessions? And I said, I want to know who I am, the
Wow. What a
authentic
question.
version of me. Yeah.
What a powerful question.
Yeah. Who do you want to be? What do you want to be? So all of a sudden, this paradigm shift happened in me, this dynamic shift happened in me, that I was the most amazing, I mean, truly amazing person. And this isn't arrogance, this isn't ego, this isn't anything other than, for all of us, this is exactly what we all are. We are all amazing, supremely wonderful beings. But it took that for me to realize what had been my birthright all along, is to
Wow.
have felt that experience. So from that, my life changed completely. My view on things, my sense of security, my sense of belonging, my sense of knowing my purpose, that came about a week later. It was with one of the charities that you've kindly mentioned in your introduction. I burst out crying when I was having coffee with one of the directors. And then the day later, because everything works in your subconscious mind, I let it rest with me. I said, right, this is my legacy. This is what I'm going to do. I want to leave everything that I have, own, build, create, to charity, to the people that are less fortunate than myself. And once that clicked in, the energy improved, the focus, the determination, the passion, the power, the direction, the self-leadership, the self-love, it just all then interlocked into place and is incredible. So I am truly, truly blessed. And I have learnt lessons in life that I wouldn't wish to have learnt in the way that I've learnt them, but I have. And if it wasn't for that experience, maybe I wouldn't be in the situation, the wonderful situation that I am now. So I've been able, very importantly, to forgive my caregivers. I've forgiven that situation. I've let that go, which was a huge weight of angst and unhappiness and guilt throughout all of my adult life until now. And I've forgiven them. And with that forgiveness has come the most amazing peace
Mm.
and tranquility. And I've got more to give as a result because it's come out of me. So I've got that space then to fill with love.
Sure.
And that was huge, to forgive the people that caused me so much suffering. But they were not well. They were not well. and I've broken the cycle of abuse. And it's a very, very satisfying feeling.
Indeed, can only imagine. So many questions come to mind. Wow. When you were talking the story, especially when you had this thing giving birth to this demon, literally, I swear to you, I was having goosebumps. I was
Yeah.
shivering, because wow. So let's go a bit deeper into that because that's absolutely captivating, fascinating. Prior to that, did you feel the presence of this thing inside of you, whether it was physically, mentally, emotionally, in any way? Was it holding you back in some way, shape, or form, mentally, physically, spiritually? Tell us about that.
Yes, I had come. The thing is, you see, when you get to learn to live with something and you've never known anything else, it's difficult to
Oh,
pull it
yes.
out as its own entity because you've got no point of comparison.
Mhm.
This is your life. This is how you
Yeah.
live. This is
Your
what
reality.
happens to
Yeah.
you. Yeah. So unless you have a point of comparison, this is you. This is what life is. And so to say, did it do anything? Well, obviously, yes, looking back. But while I was living that life, I couldn't have identified it. I just thought I was the odd one out. I just thought that, well, maybe everybody else just lies about the fact that they're happy, that they have fun, that they are at peace. Maybe that's just something that people make up to try and get through what I was living was a nightmare. But you see, my nightmare was my reality, and I had nothing to compare it to. So that's the thing. What I say is, if people are, if you feel depressed, if you feel anxious, if you feel lonely, if you feel angry, hurt, confused, this is your reality. And it doesn't matter how many people say, oh, you're just weird or pull yourself together. You can't, because that is what you are at that moment in time. And so what I would say is, as somebody who has gone through that and who has come out the other side and is totally in love now with the person that she is, and I thank myself every day for the wonderful things that I do, and I'm proud of what I'm achieving, and I'm saying all the things that I could never have said before because couldn't have been authentic by saying them. I'm thanking me. My self-esteem has become what it should be, which is healthy and strong and giving and nurturing. My self-esteem is enrooted in me now. Whereas before it was just a word that I heard, but didn't think it would ever apply to me. And the only way I could get self-esteem, and I'm not proud of it, was to see if I could usurp others or put people down or
Mm.
try and hurt those closest to me, because that gave me a sense of being over them. But of course, that isn't self-esteem. That's completely mixed up. But when you're coming up from a mixed up world and headspace, then that's your reality. One thing I would say as well, talking about this bodily experience, what I've realized is, and I've been listening about this quite a bit recently, is that it's where your body has these reactions to things that create your feelings that go up into your head. It's not the head down. It's not the head up, neck up. It's the head down. It's actually your body that feels this. And for years, I suffered from migraine headaches. I mean, just appallingly debilitating migraine headaches. And a lot of that was my body's response to trauma. And now that I've been healed, oddly enough, I always looked haggard. It didn't matter how much sleep, and sleep was difficult for me. Or how healthily I ate. I always looked like I wasn't very well. And oddly enough, now that this has come, people comment on things and say, wow, you look so healthy. Gosh, your skin is glowing. I think the light is shining through my eyes from my soul. And that is a massive difference. But also when people say that, it makes me know that I'm on the right track,
Absolutely.
because it's outside validation. And I've learned that the three things we need as human beings is to be seen, to be heard, and to be celebrated for the unique individual that we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, what I thought is that had to come externally. But what I've realized is I do it internally. I
That's
see
what starts.
myself. Yeah, I hear myself. I I give myself the credit, the pat on the back, the self-love, the self-hug for the wonderful human being that I am, because I am a wonderful human being.
Mhm.
And before, how could I have done that? I didn't know who I was. I wasn't a human being that I felt that could deserve any of that. So I was seeking it out. But the weird thing is, the people that I attracted in my life at that time were wrong people. They weren't right either. And so now, oddly enough, like yourself, the people that are coming into my life now are wonderful people, spiritual, calm, loving, giving, nurturing, kind, generous, clever, intuitive people. And they'd always eluded me all my life. And those were the ones I'm trying to seek. But of course, as you say, birds of a feather flock together. That's an
Absolutely.
English phrase. Yeah. So I kept on attracting people who needed to self-medicate, or alcoholics or drug addicts, or people who lied and cheated and stole, people that you couldn't trust, people that beat me up, people that put me down. One person put me in hospital. Um,
What?
yeah, I was in hospital for 10 days, a guy,
Like physically
unfortunately.
beating you up?
Yep,
Holy
yep.
wow.
Yeah, because you see, people who have gone through abuse often go through a repetitive cycle, because oddly enough, it's what you know. And you keep on making the same mistakes through the same patterns of behavior and attract the wrong people to you, and allow what happens to you to happen, because that's how it's always happened. And then you look back and you think, well, how did I let that happen? Well, it was pretty obvious it was going to happen. And I feel for people in that cycle, because that's exactly where I was. So all of that now has changed, and everything that I've wanted, and this is about energy and energetic flow, and I don't want to get too deep into that because it might not resonate with everybody, but now the energy levels are vibrating at a level that I can give out that's attracting this back, because at the whole of everything is all to do with energy, money, love,
Absolutely.
material things. It's all to do with energy.
It's all frequency.
Absolutely, it's all frequency. So when I'm now in a natural state of always trying to improve that energy, because it comes from within as an authentic, you can't make this stuff up, you can't just make it happen. It
Mm.
has to come in as a natural frequency. And there's lots of exponents about getting your energy levels right. What I would say is, it has to happen from the right place for it to resonate, otherwise you never get anywhere. And oddly enough, it happens then without you even realizing.
Wow. What a
And I've
scene.
even I've even noticed, sorry to interrupt, but I've even noticed that my tone of voice, my inflection has changed. The way that I speak, I was listening to myself on I did a WhatsApp voice recording to one of my team members the other day, and I listened to it, and I had to pinch myself, because I just heard this wonderfully warm, caring, loving tone of voice coming through. And I thought, that's me. I've just said that. I'm like, whoa, well, that's a change.
It used to be different,
Well,
used to be the opposite of that before.
I didn't want to be.
But that's because
But
that's
yeah,
what you knew. That's what you didn't know any other, I guess.
that was what was coming across. So my voice changed, my tonation, the way in which I inflect things. Because I think when I'm thinking about things now, and when I'm speaking, it's coming from a good place.
That's powerful. Wow. What a journey, what a transformation. Wow. Have you thought about putting all this down in a book or in a few books? In a few books? Seriously, Deborah.
Yeah, I laugh because you've hit the spot, so to speak. Yeah, I have. And you know what? It has been such a fast-paced journey. Now I know I'm not going to be derailed. This is me now. I just needed to let it embed for a while so that I could understand, you know, I'll have to pinch myself here. Is this too good to be true? Is this going to change? Because what I want to do is, if, as and when I do this, is I need to be the person, the authentic version of the person that is writing it, you know, because if it was just going to come to me and then it disappear, I wanted to make sure it solidified and stayed with me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I could be genuine, because the other thing is, you see, I can't do anything without being genuine about it.
Mm.
And oddly enough, the movement that this is creating in me to spread this out into the world is one of contribution, one of gain, and one of added value. That's how I've built my business now, on those principles, because the business started at the same time as this sort of this epiphany, which is obviously how it was meant to be, because the universe knows only perfect timing. But the wonderful thing is that I've been able now to imbue this business with the sense and the feeling and the strength and the passion and the authenticity of myself, so that it can resonate throughout the business. And every day I'm in awe of what happens, because of what that business, the energetic level of what that business is, and how that's the energetic level of it. You know, that's it. It's all energy, isn't it? And I look at it as almost like an outside entity, and think, wow, that is so wonderful. And to be able to be a part, and I'm only a small part in the creation of it, because it wouldn't happen without many, many people's souls coming together to create it. But it's one of giving, nurturing, and caring, and contribution. And interestingly enough, I had a gentleman in Karachi, again, Pakistan, but not near the business center. And as the universe does, kind of put us together on LinkedIn, the business to business social media platform. And it was meant to happen, obviously. But he said, when I was talking with him, he said, could I intern for you for free to learn?
Oh,
I know, to learn what, you know, this is me. I mean, my goodness me. If you'd have asked me 18 months ago, would somebody be saying, could I intern with you because of what you do? And I'd be like, huh? You know, this just was not me at all. And to attract that is just like, wow. So now, yes, I do understand the powerful nature of doing something with that energetic level, and the business and the people that are within it, the wonderful souls, they're all great, and our clients and their ecosystems, it all resonates out. And so you don't have to be, you know, the 1980s Wolf of Wall Street to win in business. You
yeah,
just don't. You
yeah,
can have an amazing force for good in your work, so that
absolutely.
it transcends. And one of the things, I mean, I'm rambling on, so
No, it's
but
beautiful. Keep going, keep going.
but one of the things is, people are very, that the phrase work-life balance. Okay, so because everything now is intertwined in my life and in my being, don't be alarmed when I say that, but there is no work-life balance for me. It is a completely holistic process. That, there's a phrase again: if you enjoy what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Preach.
And yeah, and so that four-letter word, work, I think should perhaps be changed to purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're fulfilling your purpose on a daily basis, then it becomes holistically you, and your life has the things that it needs to do to, you know, nurture others and children, and take care of a household, to have happy pursuits, to feed oneself good food, and to have rest and self-care, and have hobbies and all of those sorts of things. But when you're fulfilling your purpose, the things that drive things like with the exchange of money. Money is just an energy. So
Absolutely.
if we can, yeah, so if we can help our state of being understand that it's all a part of us, the energy level then increases. There's never a sense of desperation because it's just like, yeah, I'm busy like anybody. And sometimes I think, oh my goodness, this is a long day today because I've got to get it done. But it doesn't have that weight in my chest that I used to have of thinking, oh my goodness, because it's light and it's vibrant. And
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes it's not fun in that sense, but the sense of purpose means that it's driving something forward to the conclusion or to the next level than it needs to be. And so, looking after kids isn't easy. Having a hobby that you love sometimes, if you're in the gym and working out, it's not easy, but you're going towards a purpose and you get that sense of that wonderment, that excitement, that joy. You're doing the extra repetition, or looking after, the child wakes up at 2 in the morning and needs your help, and you're half asleep. I don't have children, but I've had friends who have, and the 3 a.m. kind of, mummy, mummy, mummy kind of thing. But you do that because you're nurturing that person to be a wonderful human being. So there's that purpose that now I've got that purpose is amazing. And Simon Sinek says, get your why, get your
Mhm.
why. But the thing is with that is take action, because your action will start to lead you to your purpose because it's
Mhm.
all intertwined. So don't think
Absolutely.
you've got to stress about, I don't know what my purpose is. Just take the actions that feel right and it will drive you towards your purpose, if that makes sense. I don't
Totally.
know if I'm
Totally.
talking nonsense or not. Yeah.
Wow. I can listen to you for hours. So many wisdoms, pearls of wisdom, so many gifts. You've been blessed with phenomenal gifts, even at the time when you were going through them. It definitely did not sound like gifts,
No.
but so many questions came to mind. But let me see which one I can ask you is going to be the most relevant right now without derailing the conversation. Um, so what would you say was for you the number one cause that triggered or started your transformation? The fact that you had that, you know, you said you gave birth to this monster and the monster left your body, and after that you became a different person. You became the real you you're meant to become. What
Yeah.
was it something, a specific event? Was it that man that tried to force you to have a drink that triggered that aspect of you, maybe, or was it something much deeper? Was it something gradual that over a few weeks, few years that led you to that final, moment where it all came out to be?
Well,
What triggered that?
yeah, it's a good question. Now, obviously, from my point of view, I'm thinking so obvious isn't the right word, but what I'd say is I've been struggling. So I was doing work on myself, reading books, listening to podcasts, etc., understanding of how to quiet myself in different situations. Um, so obviously something was kind of telling me that I needed to be on this journey. But the catalyst was that meeting with that person and trying to be forced to have a drink, etc. And in the whole scheme of things, that was probably the smallest issue that I'd come across. But it was the one thing that it was the catalyst. It was the small thing that just tipped the boat, and that was it. It sent me into a spiral. So I do thank that person for doing it, because if
I was
they
about to say
hadn't
that.
it,
I was about to say, what do you see now, looking at this from a higher perspective, spiritual angle and eye? Did that person actually make you a favor? Was that person actually one of your soul contracts that was supposed to trigger that? By
yeah.
sure, in the process, it was something not pleasant, but that led you to a second rebirth, so to speak.
Yes, and you know what? I thank my parents.
Absolutely.
I think, all these things. Would I have liked to have had a different way of learning? Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to suffer for forever, you know. It was and not until I was like 56 and a bit, I think, that all this happened. So that's a long old time, isn't it, of your life to have to go through it all. But the great thing is it happened. And I'm a firm believer, you can't help the year of your birth. That's just as it is, isn't it? You know, it's what you do with it that counts. And yeah, so I am grateful. Not like, you know, oh, I'm grateful for all the horrible things that happened to me. No, it's not that necessarily. It's, I see it as my life's journey, and I see it as things that were important. Because you see, one of the things is I don't forget about all of that. That
Of course.
happened.
Yeah.
So I've got that level of understanding that if I'd lived this charmed, amazing, no problem life, I wouldn't have had that to
You
look
wouldn't be
back on.
learning the lesson that you learned. You wouldn't be the person you are. Wouldn't be blessed with the gifts that you've been blessed now, and you would be able to make the impact that you're making or about to make. Absolutely.
Well, absolutely. So, and well said, because
Yeah.
that whole thing is my tapestry. And I always think, you know, I like art. I'm not very good at it, but I like it. And when you look at a lovely picture, it has light and shade in it. It has 3 dimensions, because with everything that we have in life, you have light, you have a bit of shade, you have deeper shade, and however you want to look at that in terms of the good, the bad, the horrific, the wonderful, the joyous. This is what makes us as human beings the most incredible beings on the planet, that we can actually have all these wonderful light, shade, dark to create this beautiful painting. I don't, you know, again, some people think, oh, don't get that. But it's like a symphony then, if you're thinking about auditory. If you just had one instrument playing the same note, it might be a lovely note, but after a while, that's going to get pretty annoying, isn't it?
Everything. Everything.
Yeah,
I mean, your favorite
yeah,
dish, your favorite whatever.
there
Absolutely.
you go. So it's got to have hints and things of different notes. You know, you've in a symphony, you've got to have deep notes. You've got to have pauses. Pauses are very important in music. Pauses almost more important than the notes. But it's having that complexity. So when you are going through, or when I've been going through, because I can only speak for myself, really hard times. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a walk in the park what I'm doing now. You know, there are big challenges that I'm facing to live my dream. It's not like, oh, the world's opened up and all of a sudden it's plain sailing, because actually I'm experiencing some real tough stuff. But I'm there and I'm wanting to face them and go through them and lean into them and get through the other side, which is a completely different feeling than what I had before, which is one, run away as fast as you can, or curl up and pretend they're not there, you know, the head in the sand mentality. So what it's taught me is the resilience in myself, and thinking about the things in the past has been immensely helpful, because I can use the skills that I've learned, not in the right way, but I've learned them for the right benefit now. And that's really important.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Listen, Debra, my MT was right. Me and we're gonna do more than one episode. We're barely just scratching the surface, and let's wrap it up for today. I have another call in 5 minutes, but I love talking to you. I definitely want you to be back for part 2, 3, 4, 5, and God knows how many we'll do together. I'm looking forward to them. Listen, I can't wait to hear the rest of your story. Incredible story. So many questions when you were talking. I was captivated by listening to your story. Yet questions were bombarding me. I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. You have my calendar. Please book a time for next week around the same time, and we'll rock and roll. In the meantime, I salute you. Oh, before that, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, well, I'm on LinkedIn, and if you type in Debra Blackman, you'll see a lovely banner. You've got it behind you, and there's some
Mary
details there.
Poppins.
If you want to take them down, that's fine. We are known as your Mary Poppins of the office, because I just kind of think she's great, isn't she? Mary Poppins is
Absolutely.
so yeah, so do connect with me on LinkedIn. That the things are behind me there. And yeah, and if you know, I never turn anybody away. If you want to drop me a note and say, oh, I'm stuck, I don't know what to do, I wouldn't mind a friendly ear to speak to, I'm always there. It doesn't have to be about business. I'm always there,
Yeah.
but I'm not a trained counselor, but this is just me speaking from the heart.
That's what it matter boils down to. When you speak from the heart, that's where the magic happens. When people open up to you, that's when magic happens. Let me put it that way. Listen, I salute you. You truly do that. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world. Your presence, your impact, your captivating story, your warm smile, and everything else you do with your gifts. Stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you. Definitely looking forward for part 2 very soon. Have I know for you in the UK, it's what? It's still early in the morning. Here it's 4:27 p.m. on a Friday. Beautiful Friday afternoon, sunny. I hope it's sunny for you too. And yeah, so definitely talking to you. Looking forward to talking to you soon. Have a wonderful one, my dear friend. And this is just the start. Just the
Oh,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, my friend.
Cayman, thank you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure's all mine, my dear friend. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye now. Bye bye. Bye.